In June of 2019, I drove from Salt Lake City to Portland to help my sister move out of her apartment. I had finished finals the week before and figured I'd turn it into a solo trip. Just me, the playlist I'd been building during midterms, and 830 miles of open road. I didn't rush when I left. Slept in, packed late, grabbed snacks, and rolled out of town just after noon. That was my first mistake. I drove slower than usual, took long breaks, and by the time the sun went down, I was still in southern Idaho. I could have pushed through, maybe made it to Boise, but around 12:30 a.m., I started feeling that blurry kind of tired where you think you're fine until your eyes start fluttering without permission. I figured it wasn't worth the risk. That's when I saw a blue and white sign for Rest Stop 231 2 miles. One of those official state-run ones, not a gas station. Just bathrooms, vending machines, and parking. I don't normally sleep in my car, but I'd done it once on a camping trip and figured I'd park, lock up, and sleep until sunrise. The lot had about 6 or 7 spaces, one RV, and an old silver Corolla with fogged windows already parked. A single tall light stood in the middle, buzzing the way those sodium ones do, and the vending machine near the bathrooms had a busted LED that flicked every few seconds. I reversed into a corner spot away from the RV and angled my mirror so I couldn't see the lot. Cracked the passenger window half an inch. It was quiet, just a warm breeze, a diesel engine running softly from the RV and dry grass rustling. I covered my legs with a jacket and leaned the seat back. After years of sleeping in noisy dorms and shared apartments, this kind of silence felt surprisingly nice. That lasted maybe half an hour. I woke up to the sound of tapping, not loud, not frantic, just a soft, deliberate tap, tap, tap. I sat up quick, disoriented and stiff, looked around. Nothing. My car windows were foggy, partly from my breathing, partly from the temperature shift. I wiped the windshield with my sleeve and stared out. The light in the lot cast shadows, but no movement. I looked at the clock. 20:12 a.m., no one near the bathroom, no footsteps, just the vending machine still blinking. I listened, eyes barely open this time. For a while, nothing happened. Then I heard it again, still soft, still rhythmic. This time, I realized it was coming from the driver's side rear window, like someone's fingernail brushing the glass. I turned slowly, heart suddenly tight. Couldn't see anyone, just black behind the window. I hit the door lock button again out of reflex. Even though I knew I'd locked everything, my hand hovered near the ignition. But I hesitated. I figured maybe I was dreaming. Maybe the RV's engine was rattling or something brushing the car. But the taps didn't match the rhythm of anything else. There were 3, always 3. Then silence. Eventually, I turned the engine on. Not to drive. I just wanted the comfort of the dash lights, something humming besides my thoughts. Headlights lit the looped exit road and the edge of the main lot. Still no one. I debated backing out and heading to the nearest hotel, but I was exhausted and wired at the same time. Almost too tired to move, too wired to rest. You know the feeling. So I waited. At some point, I convinced myself that it was nothing, turned the ignition off again, reclined the seat, and closed my eyes. Something knocked on the glass right above my head. This time louder. I jumped, slammed my knee against the steering wheel, grabbed the keys, and flipped the lights on. There was no one there. At least that's what I told myself. Even though I felt someone very close seconds earlier. I sat up straight, sweat running cold across my chest, even though the air inside the car wasn't warm anymore. I turned to look at the Corolla, still in the exact same space. No lights, no movement. The RV's engine was off now too. It looked like every vehicle in that lot had been abandoned. I told myself I imagined it, because the alternative was way worse. I took a picture of the dash clock. 3:04 a.m. I was wide awake. Then something shifted. A shadow moved. But not in my side mirror, not across the pavement. Inside the fogged part of my passenger window, like someone brushing past it from the outside, just enough to leave a faint streak in the condensation. I leaned over and stared at the window. There was a clean vertical mark, dragged finger top to bottom, human height. It was still wet. I didn't hear anything move away. No footsteps, no gravel shift, just the wind. I started the engine again. I didn't even make a decision. My body took over. I drove slowly to the loop exit and coasted past the bathroom. The little dome light above the vending machine was no longer blinking. It was off completely. As I turned to leave the lot, I looked back at the security camera mounted high on a pole near the road. It was twisted sideways, aimed toward the edge of the woods. Not the entrance. Not where cars would come in. Just forest. No one followed me. I didn't see headlights for miles. I drove for another hour until I found a Safeway parking lot, pulled in and sat with the engine running until the sky started changing color. When I got out to use a gas station bathroom at sunrise, I walked around the back of my car. There were 3 faint smears on the rear window, like someone had placed their hand there. Not a full print, just pressure points of fingers, dragged downward. I've stopped at a dozen rest areas since, but never again at night, and never if there isn't at least one other person awake, someone I can see. Not just fogged windows and turned away cameras. Not like Rest Stop 231. I used to drive long-haul deliveries for an auto body parts supplier. I wasn't a trucker, just a guy with a company van responsible for getting specialty orders out to rural shops that didn't have good shipping relationships. It wasn't the most glamorous job, but it paid well and got me out of the city. One week, I had 4 drop-offs across Oregon. I planned it smart. Up through the center, swing over to the coast, and loop home in time for my nephew's soccer tournament on Saturday. I had a company card for gas and motels, but I liked driving late into the night. Less traffic, more peaceful. My boss didn't care when I got the job done as long as the paperwork was clean. It was a Tuesday night in late October, and I was heading southwest from a shop in Bend toward the coast. According to GPS, there was a 2-lane back road called Old Route 12 that would cut me at least 30 minutes off a longer highway route. It looked empty, but connected into the highway about 60 miles later. No cell towers, no towns, just open woods, rolling curves, and occasional mailboxes. I wasn't too worried. The van was new, full tank, and I had downloaded Google Maps offline just in case. The road started out fine. No real shoulder, but decent pavement. Trees leaned tight over both sides like a tunnel, and the occasional mile marker reassured me I was going the right way. I passed a truck early on, parked half off the road with cones around it. No one inside. Probably a local. I think it was about an hour in when I saw the woman, not sudden, just part of the curve. I came around a bend, headlights sweeping, and there she was, standing just beside a small reflector post on the right shoulder. She wasn't flagging me down or even facing the road. She stood angled away slightly, back straight, arms low, wearing a kind of tan or dirty grey coat, maybe heavy fabric like canvas. Her face was pale where the light passed over it, but I couldn't make out anything more. It caught me off guard. I slowed a little, thought maybe her car had broken down a mile back, and she was walking for reception. I passed her slow enough that if she needed help, she could have waved, but she didn't move. No eye contact, no shift in her stance. It was like she didn't even notice I was there. For the next 20 seconds, I kept checking my rear view. No one behind me. The woman walking slowly into the curve I'd just come out of. Still on the white line, still not looking up. 10 minutes later, I saw her again. It made no sense. I came around another bend and down a short straightaway, and she was back, standing near the edge of the road in the same position. Same tan coat, same angle, same slow turn of her head as I passed. This time I was sure it was her. My mind tried to logic it out. Maybe 2 women in similar clothes. Maybe someone walking a long route parallel to the road, working linearly while I curved around. But the way she was standing still, like before, waiting for nothing, it threw me. I kept driving. I turned the radio off. A squirrel darted across the road at one point, and I nearly flinched into the opposite lane. Another 15 minutes went by. Then I saw her one more time. This time she was on the left side of the road, standing in the exact same posture, head slightly down, unmoving. She didn't look up as I passed. Or maybe she did, but just late enough that I didn't catch it. I hit the brakes. Stopped. Just sat there, staring into the mirror, engine running. I wanted to believe she was a real person. I really did. The alternative, imagining someone appearing in front of my van every few miles, was absurd. I waited about 30 seconds, then turned around. The road was too narrow for a safe U-turn, so I backed into a gravel lip and pointed back uphill. 5, 10, 15 seconds of coasting back up the slope. She wasn't there. No trace of her, no movement in the trees, nothing in the shadows where I'd seen her. Then I heard the knock. It was sharp, came from inside the van. I jumped so hard I hit my elbow on the steering wheel. I twisted fast, turned the cabin light on, scanned everything. No one in the back. The storage area was locked with a mesh divider gate. Nothing in the rear view. No doors open, no headlights behind me. I threw the van back into drive and floored it. I don't remember a single curve after that. The next thing I do remember clearly is hitting the highway ramp labeled Route 20 West. There was a gas station about half a mile down. Bright lights. I pulled into the lot and turned off the van. Pried my hands off the wheel. My shirt stuck to my back. I got out to walk around, get some air, swore I'd never take old Route 12 again. Just as I reached for the rear door, I noticed something on the back glass. 3 handprints, maybe 4. Faint but visible in the condensation layered from the cold drive. Not full palms. Just pressure fingerprints. Left streaks like someone had leaned in gently. The center print was smaller than the others. They were on the inside. I walked into the gas station, bought water, and sat there for 10 minutes before I could speak. The guy behind the counter said I looked pale and asked if I was okay. I just asked him how long Route 12 had been open to the public. He looked confused. "There's no Route 12 out that way," he said. "Not a public road. Used to run parallel to the new highway way back when. Got closed years ago, landslides or something." "Why?" I didn't argue. I thanked him and left. Later, I checked my GPS history. It showed a gap between Tundra 42 and 2013 AM, no location, just a missing segment. Then suddenly reconnected right as I merged off the ramp. That part could be tech failure, lost signal, sure. But to this day, I still have a hard time driving unfamiliar roads after dark. Because every now and then, I get the sense that someone is walking nearby. Not flagging, not speaking, just standing still, waiting to be seen. My girlfriend and I had been dating about 8 months when we took our first real road trip together. An overnight concert, 2 states away, late October. It was her favorite band, and I figured we'd make it a weekend. I booked a cheap Airbnb out in the hills of West Virginia, thinking mountain views and no neighbors would be romantic. She thought it was cute. I wanted to drive the whole way myself. The first day went fine. The show was wild, energy was insane, and we stayed late enough that most of the post-concert traffic cleared out before we got on the road again. It was nearly midnight when we left the venue, cold rain starting to spit lightly across the windshield, and GPS said we were about 90 minutes away from the cabin. The main valley roads were clear enough, well lit, fast open. Then somewhere between 2 stretches of highway, the GPS rerouted. It claimed there was construction and suggested a side route that would save us 12 minutes. I glanced at her, shrugged, and took it. Never should have taken that exit. Right away things felt different. The ramp was steep, like unusually steep. My headlights caught only the narrow, winding road ahead, no signs, no mile markers, no guardrails, and absolutely no other cars. The rain picked up, spitting harder sideways now. Fog started to roll in, low against the pavement. Her phone lost signal about 5 minutes up. Mine held on a little longer before the blue line disappeared and the screen showed, searching. The road narrowed the further we climbed. Dense forest on both sides, headlights swallowed as soon as they left the hood. Asphalt turned cracked in places, patches of dirt between fades. We hadn't seen a single road sign in 20 minutes. I remember casually saying, "Feels like we're about to find a haunted summer camp or some crap." Trying to break the tension. She didn't laugh. We turned up the heat. The windshield was starting to fog. The satellite music cut out. I switched to downloaded songs. The shadows outside felt wrong, but I couldn't put my finger on why.
Then we saw it. A small diner out of nowhere.
Yellowing sign, windows fogged, front light flickering. Parking lot completely empty. It looked like it belonged to a different decade. Maybe 80s, but hard to tell in the dark. We didn't stop, didn't even slow. Just clocked it and kept driving. 3 miles later, we passed it again. Same diner, same angle, same flickering light. We hadn't turned. That's when my girlfriend finally spoke. Did we just pass that place already? I didn't want to answer because I knew we had. We kept driving. Trees got denser. I couldn't go faster than 30. Anything more felt unsafe. There were no turnouts, no intersections, no other signs of life. Just that narrow blacktop road with towering woods pressing in from both sides. She turned the music off. We rode in silence. Then the headlights showed a vehicle parked on the right shoulder. It wasn't abandoned, not obviously. Lights off, all black. Looked like an older SUV. We passed it slowly and saw a pair of reflectors at the rear, red, tinted by our lights. No plate, no movement. Windows too dark to see inside. She turned and watched it until we rounded the next curve. When we came out of the turn, there it was again. Same SUV, parked on the right. Same brush arrangement behind it. Same absence of a license plate. We both said nothing. Then she pulled out her phone. No service again. 0 bars. I told her I'd keep driving until we hit signal, or a gas station or something. But something in my legs said get out of here now. 5 minutes passed. No SUVs seemed good, then the headlights reappeared behind us, far, maybe a quarter mile. First just a flicker at a dip in the road, then steady. Not speeding, not swerving, just following, quiet, slow and distant. I slowed at the next curve and watched the mirror. The headlights dimmed behind the bend. When we came out of the next turn, they were still there, never getting closer, never backing off, always the same distance. It didn't make sense. Not unless they were matching every one of our turns and changes in speed perfectly. We couldn't see how wide the road was behind us. Maybe it was someone local. That's what I said aloud, even though I didn't believe it. Then we saw the diner again. For the 3rd time, same sign, same flickering light, same everything. That's when it hit me. We were looping. The road wasn't taking us forward anymore. We hadn't seen that curve before. That shoulder rock. That tree that forked like an arm. But we had. I asked her to take out her phone and open the compass app. She did. Put it on her lap. It spun once, then froze. She said, "It says we're facing north." I said, "Impossible. That would have been a left turn back on the highway." We hadn't turned. She stared at her screen and I stared at the road. The headlights behind us were still there. Then the worst part happened. They went out. Full darkness behind us. It was worse than being followed with lights. Because something told me they hadn't turned around. They'd just turned everything off. We both started shaking at that point. Not hyperventilating, not yet, but fully alert, panicking on the inside while holding it together with eye contact and clipped sentences. I couldn't turn around. No room, no exits, and no idea how far we were from help. Another corner came, and on the other side, the SUV again. Same one we had seen parked. This time in a turnout from our direction, pointing nose first toward the road like it was ready to pull out. We passed it, quiet, careful, slow. The windows were still pitch black, and my hands were sweating so much the steering wheel felt slick. Then we saw a sign. Actual county signage. County Route 17A, merge 1 mile. It felt like rescue. We nearly sobbed.
Finally, real infrastructure, phone signal.
Safety. And then we saw the road ahead. The merge wasn't clear highway. It was a bridge. And it was blocked. 2 vehicles sideways across the entrance, hazard lights blinking softly in the rain. One old pickup, the other possibly a state vehicle, but the markings were covered with tarp or mud. No cones, no signs, no people. Just 2 cars across the whole lane, parked deliberately as if waiting for someone to come to them. I hit the brakes halfway down the merge and killed the headlights. We coasted into a patch of shoulder hidden by a bend and turned everything off. No one behind us, no one approaching the block. We sat, motionless, breathing so loud we could almost hear each other's hearts. She whispered, "Go back, please." I reversed slowly, no lights still, no sign of the original SUV. I backed into the trees at a small gap and turned off the engine completely. We waited 17 minutes before we saw movement. It wasn't headlights. It was a person walking down the merge ramp. No flashlight, no raincoat, just steady steps across the pavement, silhouetted by the blinking hazards of the two blocking vehicles. They reached the back of the truck, stopped, and stood there, facing the trees, toward us. We stayed parked in that spot for almost an hour before we worked up the courage to leave. We drove back the way we came and didn't see another car, person, or mile marker until the sun came up and our phones lit back up with 5G. Months later, I tried to find that road again. Old highway maps show an unmarked service road that used to connect County Route 14 and 17A, closed down due to illegal dumping and landslides. The county claims the merge point was barricaded since 2014. They said no one should have made it far enough to see it. No mention of the diner, no record of surveillance. We blew a tire the next day in Virginia, got stranded at a Love's station and slept sitting up in the car. And still, that wasn't the worst night of that trip.